Give it a chance.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
I
Shalom.
am Jerry Heelan, pastor of Yahweh's Evangelical Assembly. Our mailing address for the things that we publish the Yahshua's Witness magazine, YA newsletter, which I'm working on now, hoping to get it out before too long, and Search the Scriptures publication. And we have all kinds of literature available. We made a lot of our literature into booklets, magazines, and all. There's a Sabbath magazine. There's a booklet entitled "Do You Know Truth?" and just there's a lot of things, brethren, that are key to understanding where we are in this world today. You can write to us at Post Office Box 31. That'd be YEA, Yahweh's Evangelical Assembly. The acronym is YEA. And request whatever literature you would desire, So write to us at YEA, Post Office Box 31, Atlanta, Texas, 75551. Or you can give us a call on our landline, which is 903-796-7420. So, brethren, we
Pentecost.
we're coming up next weekend, next Sabbath and first day of the week, known as Sunday by most of the world. That'll be Pentecost weekend. Well, we have a couple of our big families that are not going to be able to be here for the Sabbath. So we'll just we'll do Pentecost or the Sabbath here in our home, and then and if any of you are planning to come here, for the whole weekend, well, I hate to call it the weekend because the Sabbath is the weekend. And then the first day of the week, this next Sabbath cycle. First day of the next Sabbath cycle is the day that the world calls Sunday. But anyway, we're going to be renting that building because those families will be back and they'll be meeting with us, and they're just going to be enough people to justify getting that building and not being so crowded up in this house here. And that's going to take place, the Pentecost service, which, brethren, we won't have internet access. So what we'll have to do for Pentecost is we'll have to tape it there, and then I'll have to bring everything home and upload it to the YouTube and then to Facebook. Okay, so
The address.
the address there in Linden is 300 East Houston, but it's a street, Houston Street, but it's also Highway 11, which goes straight down to, well, it crosses Highway 8, but if you keep going, you go to, what's the name of that town?
I know which one you're talking about, but you get there to the corner and go,
It's not Sulphur Springs.
no, it's the other one. Something to do with pleasure or something.
Yeah.
Mount Pleasant?
Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant.
Well, Mount Pleasant's way on down. I don't remember what.
Well, they don't need to know that.
But anyway,
Highway 11 is a major little highway. And so, it's called East 300 East Houston, and also the road there is Highway 11. So you'll know where to go. It's the same place that we've always met in. There's no mystery to it or anything, except if there's new people coming, then they need the address.
Dangerfield.
Yeah, that's it.
Not Dangerfield, no.
It is Dangerfield.
Yes,
No.
next one is Dangerfield.
Dangerfield.
Well, it'll go through Dangerfield, but I'm talking about the one.
It's Highway 11, right out of Lemon. Go straight to
I'm talking about Hughes
Hughes Springs.
Springs.
Oh, that one.
Oh, honey, are you gonna, let me do the prayer list, please.
Wait a minute. Well, I'm
Yeah,
fixing
it don't matter. They're gonna stop in Linden anyway.
So anyway, we'll call on my wife Frances to do the prayer list, and then we'll open with prayer.
Brethren all over the world, especially in the U.S., Britain, Philippines, India, Kenya. Mark Foster, Jerry Heelan, Rachel and Drew Gibson, Marie Borleau, Iris Hernandez, Chase and Brittany Graham, Declan Graham, Jacob C. Meyer and family, Mr. and Mrs. Jimmy Cackley, Sam and Connie Graham, Robert, Allen, Tanya, Kirk, Tanya's mom, David and Rachel Lawrence, Hilda Bridger, Susanna Mom, Joseph Miller and the Ruth Bears U Assembly and all other assemblies, Johnny McCarty, Jerry Osmond, Henry Sutterman, Sue Dodd, Judy Paul, Sarah Assad, and Olive Anise, Jerry Hensley, Gary Bennett, Rosa Blizzard, Rosa Hagera, Alfonso Monafredo, Shannon Bergman, Mark Hosenbach, Hassel Davids, Robert Smart, Marie Fagans, Orphanage in Nairo, Kenya needing food, Renee Murphy, Elaine Keys and family, Carlos Espinoza and son Damien, Billy Wilson, Sharon Upshaw, Robbie Earhart, Laura Wilson, Hayhor Espinoza's wife has third street cancer, Sylvia Garcia, Gail Benota, Jaquetta Curry, Chester Basham, Darren Bunch, Linda Johnson, Brianna Amos, Wayne Irene, Diane Cowas, Dwayne Dewey Piper, Cynthia Wilson, Seth Meyer, Matt and Michelle Cox, Corey Shane, Cameron Porsche, Courtney Justin, Lila Faye, and Landry May Foster, Delane Singleton, Louis Cabrera, George Panya, Jacob Morris, and all other prisoners at Shelby, Montana prison, Levon Lewis, Tammy Robinson, Chloe Ranson, and her mother Skylar, Mandy Bunch, Alan Escobedo. That's it.
Okay, and Alice McCann said, please pray for my daughter, that my daughter gets well from cough/infection.
What's her daughter's name?
I don't know. She didn't give the name. Alice McCann's daughter.
Okay, got it.
Brethren, let's go before Yahweh. Hey, Jerry, that thing's cut my head off.
No, it ain't. I see you real clear.
There you go.
It don't matter if it's like that.
Really?
I can still see you full-fledged right here.
Okay.
I had it up there doing something else.
All right.
Okay. Hands up. Let's pray.
So I'm going to leave you in the dark.
Oh, Father in heaven, Yahweh, we come before your awesome, marvelous, and wondrous throne of grace, mercy, and truth. It's a throne of light and love and joy in the most abundant of living. You, Yahweh, you are the awesome Elohim, and your son Yahshua is just like you. He never fails. He always completes your bidding because he also is the word of Yahweh, or the word Yahweh. He is, Father in heaven, so marvelous and so wondrous. He showed us when he came, he showed us your love and his love. And Father in heaven, that love is so special because he was willing to empty himself of the power, honor, and glory that he had with you. He was willing to empty himself of that so that he could become a man and could suffer for each and every one of us. Because, Father in heaven, we have no strength to redeem ourselves. But Yahshua's got all the strength to redeem us. Oh, we thank you so much for that, Father in heaven. That redemption is so precious, so important, and so vital to all of mankind. Such a magnificent plan you have, Father in heaven, for your people and for your work. For all those, Father in heaven, who call upon your name, because your name is the name of mercy. And I can see it, Father in heaven. It's the name of grace, and that grace is incorporated into the name Yahweh. Father in heaven, we love you, we thank you, we praise you, we worship you, we honor you, and we glorify you. And we ask you, Father in heaven, to please be with us this day. Place your blessings upon us. Open our minds and open our hearts for the message that is prepared. And Father in heaven, we love you so much. And we know that you love us with a greater love. So please guide the message this day and help us to have our minds focused on it so that we can learn from it, Father. And we can have more faith, more confidence, more wisdom, more knowledge, more understanding in humility. All totally in humility, Father. Because we of ourselves are weak. We don't have the power to deliver ourselves, but you do have that power as exhibited through our Savior and Redeemer, Yahshua the Messiah. So now, Father in heaven, we're just asking you to we've eaten food, we've had our breakfast and a light lunch. But Father in heaven, your word is so important. It is food. It is food that grants to us when we receive it, when we rejoice in it, when we glorify you because of it, Father. And we publish your great, merciful, and awesome name, the name Yahweh. And so, Father in heaven, we're asking you just to lead us, guide us, and feed us this day with your word, which is life everlasting. We're asking all these things in, by, and through. And Father, we're asking you to remember those on the prayer list that, and I know there are many more that we could put on there, but they're on our list. And we just ask you to be with them, bless each one, deliver them from the problems that they're dealing with, their afflictions. And do so, Father, in, by, and through your awesome, marvelous, and wondrous Son, Yeshua HaMashiach. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
That was a message in itself.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. The title of this, a portion of the title is Babylon Rising. Now, most of you will understand where I'm coming from if you've been receiving our literature for a good length of time. But not only if you've been receiving the literature, but also, brethren, if you've been reading it, I know there's a tendency out in the world. There's so many activities and all.
Excuse me.
And we may be sending reading material out, but a lot of this reading material may not be getting read and digested. But it's there for each one of you, brethren. We're putting it out for each one of you. Whoever will listen, receive it, and live according to it. And believe it. Anyway, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream which Daniel explained. Not going to go through all of those gyrations. Pick it up in Daniel chapter 2 and verse 31. Daniel explained, "You, O king, saw and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before you, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and arms of silver, his belly and thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part clay. You saw till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings. And let's keep this in mind. He's called
King of Kings.
a king of kings. For the Elohim of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven has he given into your hand, and he's made you ruler over them all. You are this head of gold. And after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron, for as much as iron breaks in pieces and subdues all things. And as iron that breaks all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas you saw the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as you saw the iron mixed with miry clay, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas you saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. See, what Yahweh was doing is this worldly kingdom, it's this worldly kingdom, brethren, is a kingdom run by men. And even though these men have a lot of glory, a lot of honor, a lot of power, a lot of riches and wealth to rule it, but it's in the hands of men, and men who do not have the spirit of Yahweh are they're confused, and they do wicked and evil things. And as we've gone along throughout time, the same thing has been happening even in this country that we're living in. The world is full of wickedness, full of evil, full of wicked and evil desires. So Yahweh's going to establish the kingdom of heaven. And he's going to do it by a stone that was carved out without hands. And who would that stone be? That stone would be a combination of Yahshua and the Father, because the stone is Eben, Aleph, Beit, Nun. So Aleph and Beit is Father, Beit and Nun is sun. So this rock, this stone, has the combination of the Father and the Son in it. And it's going to break up all the kingdoms of this world. It says, which shall consume all the kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. You know, once Yahweh puts his righteous government in place, brethren, it stays there. And it does not fail at all. Verse 45. This is Daniel 2:45. For as much as you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great Elohim has made known to the king what shall come to pass. So Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him, unto Daniel, when he should have been offering everything to the one who actually revealed the secret to Daniel, which was Yahweh, the heavenly king. The king answered and said unto Daniel, of a truth it is that your Elohim is an Elohim of Elohim, and a master of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing you could reveal this secret. Now, brethren, the first thing to notice is that this string of world ruling kingdoms that is started with Babylon is going to end with the toes of iron and miry clay, when Yahweh will intervene to establish the kingdom of heaven. But what we need to focus on is that this kingdom, it came on the scene under Nebuchadnezzar, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, and his kingdom, and the succession of these kingdoms will take place, brethren, until Yahweh establishes the kingdom of heaven. It's going to continue until that time. So the second thing to focus on is the fact that the first kingdom, Babylon, the Hebrew is Babel. Babel or Babel, we call it Babel. Babylon is the head. Now Babylon, Babel or Babel or however you want to call it, it means confusion. That's number 894 in Strong's Exhausted Concordance in the Hebrew lexicon. So stop and think about this. The head is the control center of the body, hence the brain. We receive information through the five senses: sight, smell, hearing, and feeling. The head governs them all. The head is the only part of the body that has the eyes for seeing, the ears for hearing, the nose for smelling, and the mouth for taste. Huh?
Your
And the
hands.
hands for touch.
Your hands for touching.
Well, but it also controls they're telling me the hands for touch or for feeling. But brethren, if the brain, like with me, if the brain is cut off from part of the body, then you have no feeling there. You have no feeling. So even the sense of feeling is controlled by the brain. So the brain is the control center of the body. And so the world is going to look at things, the way the head did. Now, we know that Nebuchadnezzar was dealt with through Daniel by Yahweh. And so we know that Nebuchadnezzar, he came to see a lot of things and understand a lot of things. And he gave praise to the Elohim of Daniel, the Elohim of Israel and Judah. But just to show you what happened to the head, let's go to Daniel 5:1. Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were out of the temple of the house of Yahweh, which was at Jerusalem. By this time it had been destroyed, And the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank in them. And they drank wine and praised the Elohim of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. Brethren, after Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian kingdom, it evidently deteriorated into pagan worship, false pagan worship, very quickly.
Like it says there in Revelation, and the rest of mankind that were not killed by these plagues repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils, idols of gold, silver, brass, stone, wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk.
Yeah. Was that Revelation what?
Revelations 9, 20, 21.
9,
Revelations 9, 20.
20 to 21.
Yep, so neither did they.
Well, anyway, this is proof enough that the kingdom of gold had, in the long run, descended into a chaotic and confused pagan kingdom. And so it's the brain of the body of that image. And so whatever it sees, whatever it feels, whatever it says, whatever it teaches is what they would teach. They would embrace the same type worship. And they don't understand why they're doing that, but they're doing it because of the head. They're doing it because of the head. You know, we learn through those five senses. You got sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, and feeling. We learn, but that's all physical things, brethren. It doesn't have anything to do with the Spirit of Yahweh. The Spirit of Yahweh is something that's placed in a repentant person, and it causes them to turn away from the chaos and confusion of Babylon. But of course, it also causes them to be hated by all the worldly kingdoms. Anything, because, brethren, you know, righteousness and wickedness can't live together. They cannot. So we need to we need to allow these things to sink into our mind, to see them and understand. Now, while the second kingdom, the Medo-Persian Empire, the kingdom of silver, was able to be worked with somewhat, because it was under those kings, the kings of Media and Persia, which was the second kingdom, the kingdom of silver. Well, the king sent an entourage from his area back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple, to rebuild a second temple that Joshua was going to come to, brethren. He was going to come to that temple. And so Yahweh had to have that temple rebuilt, and it was. The third world ruling kingdom was brass or copper, which is rendered as Nakash, or serpent, in both the Hebrew and Aramaic languages. It became the third world ruling kingdom. It was begun by Alexander the Great, who was Greek. The serpent was, or is, the underlying spirit of the whole system. You know, you stop and think about it. The sun gods and goddesses, those were the highest gods and goddesses that men could conjure up. And they were coded, their images, they made images to them and all, and they always either coated their relics with the gold, or they were made with 100% gold, you know. Then the third kingdom was silver. The second kingdom was silver. Well, the moon gods and goddesses were worshipped through silver. So that's the reason why you had gold and you had silver. Man, stop and think about that. That what Yahweh is showing us is a mixture of pagan entities that comes on still. It comes on in this world today, brethren. They discovered a new planet back in the early 1900s. That planet, what did they name it? Huh?
Zero?
No, they named it
Pluto.
Pluto. Pluto was another dark pagan deity. Look at the space programs. They're called Apollo. What are some of the others? I can't remember.
Challenger.
Well, yeah, but
And another one, I forget what they are.
I can't remember. Yeah, I should have wrote down, but anyway. They got one now. I can't remember what they call it now, but flees my mind. But they've been naming all of these things after pagan gods and goddesses. So the fourth kingdom of iron, you had Babylon, then the Medo-Persian, that was the gold. Babylon was the gold. Then you had the Medo-Persian Empire, which was silver. And then you had the third kingdom of brass or copper, and that's got the spirit of Satan in it. And brethren, that's what the Greeks have always tried to do. They've always tried to incorporate their king of gods, Zeus, and they incorporated it into the Savior's name, Jesus, or Jesus.
Ephesus.
Huh?
Ephesus.
Yeah, Ephesus.
It don't mean pleasant place.
Right. So the fourth kingdom of iron was Rome, which would go through 3 stages. Yahweh showed that to me. First, there's the legs of iron. That was the Latin kingdom. Then the feet part of iron and potter's clay. That had to be Roma Nova, New Rome, or the second Rome, because Constantine, in his time, he banished or abolished the government in old Rome itself, and he moved the whole government and everything to the east, to the Greek area. And so then you get a combination of iron and copper, iron and copper. And of course, to me, that stage was the foot of iron and potter's clay. And then the last stage is part of iron and miry clay, which is basically, I think and I've taught that that's the miry clay. And the toes part of iron. That's what's in existence today. So we're very close to the end of the end of man's paganistic, idolatrous rule.
Pay no attention to that.
Okay, now I want to go to Daniel chapter 7, because this portion deals with these kingdoms also. Daniel 7:1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven strove upon the great sea. Now, I want to point out that the great sea was the Mediterranean, which is what it was known as at that time.
Yeah.
So you got to remember now, these kingdoms are associated with the Mediterranean, and they have been actually the world powers until America came along.
Mhm.
But brethren, they've used America. They just absolutely used and misused and abused America. And we're beginning to see the problems that we're going to face in the future. And it's not a very beautiful thing. It's actually a scary thing. But Yahweh promises his people that if they embrace righteousness, then he will bless them and deliver them. Okay, so Daniel 7:1, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spoke and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. Remember, that's the Mediterranean. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet as a man, and as a man's heart, and a man's heart was given to it. Well, brethren, let me have my Bible. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 17. Would help if I turn my Bible right side up. Jeremiah 17, verse 1. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with the point of a diamond. Well, isn't that interesting? With a pen of iron. That's Roman Empire.
Oh, excuse me.
So their works are going to be more obvious. Judah's works, their works of wickedness, are going to really be known and seen and experienced under the kingdom of iron, which was the Roman kingdom. With a pen of iron and with the point of a diamond, it is graven upon the table of their heart and upon the horns of your altars, while their children remember their altars and their groves, the green trees upon the high hills. My mountain in the field, I will give your sustenance and all your treasures to the spoil and your high places for sin throughout all your borders. Brethren, that's in the process of taking place. And you, even yourself, shall discontinue from your heritage that I gave you, and I will cause you to serve your enemies in the land which you know not, for you have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Thus says Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusts in man and makes flesh his arm, and whose heart departs from Yahweh. So, brethren, what do people do today? They like here in America, they get together and they're praising men who are nothing more than robber barons. They're set in place to lead, guide, and direct people into the wrong paths, brethren, harmful paths. Doesn't look harmful to begin with. It's just like Israel went down into Egypt, right? And things were looking pretty good when they first got down there. But after a while, well, a new Pharaoh comes along and he begins to deceptively fool the Israelite people and deceives them into slavery. And I mean abject slavery. They were working themselves to death. And brethren, that's what we're getting to now. The banks are going to fail, and people are going to work themselves to death. They've been working themselves to death and conniving and doing all kinds of things for all this money, and the money is going to be worthless shortly.
Because Judah has married the daughter of a strange.
That's right. Judah has married the daughter of a strange.
Malachi 2:11.
Verse 3 again, O my mountain in the field, I will give your substance and all your treasures to the spoil, and your high places for sin throughout all your borders. So we have the Jewish bankers today, and they are going to have all of their riches, which their plot is to have all the world's riches, and everybody else in the world will own nothing
And be happy.
and have nothing but be happy. Yeah. That's impossible, brethren, because men need to work and they need to see, they need to build families, they need to build a home, they need to build a business. And brethren, they need to build looking forward to the future. And when you own nothing, you can't be happy. When you're doled out just enough money, credits, whatever you want to call it, which is what their plan is, you'll barely be able to subsist, if you can at all. Okay, verse 4, and you, even yourself, shall discontinue from your heritage that I gave you, and I will cause you to serve your enemies in the land which you know not, for you have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever. Thus says Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusts in man, and makes flesh his arm, and whose heart departs from Yahweh. And that's happened, brethren. People are trusting in a man. You know, most of your, what do you call it, Republican people, conservatives and all, who are they backing? Donald Trump. Donald Trump. So they're looking to a man. They're trusting in a man. But who did the bankers appoint? Joseph Biden. And look at the very short period of time that he's been as the ruler. Look how things have just gone haywire.
Yeah, I believe that's called treason.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, verse 5 again. Thus says Yahweh, cursed be the man that trusts in man and makes flesh his arm, and whose heart departs from Yahweh. For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land, and not inhabited. Blessed is the man that trusts in Yahweh, and whose hope Yahweh is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, that spread out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat comes, but her leaves shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, Yahweh, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. The heart, brethren, a man's heart is given to this first kingdom, this land with eagle's wings, and a man's heart is given to it, and the heart is deceitful and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Now, verse 5 in Daniel 7, behold, another beast, a second like to a bear. It raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth. Now, rib comes from 6760 in Strong's Concordance. It is Selah. A rib as curved, literally of the body, or figuratively of a door or leaf, hence a side, literally of a person, or figuratively of an object or the sky. a quarter section of the sky, brethren. Now this bear with 3 ribs in its mouth, in another place, which we'll get to here shortly, the bear pushes to the west, north, and south. Those are the 3 ribs, 3 quarter sections of the sky under her might, her power, her control. And so that the 3 ribs in its mouth is from is its sign of rulership, of power. Okay, so it's got those ribs in the mouth and between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. And so that's what it would be doing, is it would be going from the east, and it'd be going to the west, north, and south. And we'll find out about how powerful it is in the next, in Daniel chapter 8. After this I beheld another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Well, now, this was the Greek kingdom that was established by Alexander the Great, brethren. And we'll learn more about that in a minute. Okay.
Verse 7.
Verse 7.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. Iron teeth, the iron kingdom. It devoured and broke in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. Now this little horn, I'm trying to think now. I didn't go back into my writings in depth enough. Didn't have enough time to. But this, of course, is the Greek kingdom. The 4 wings are, there's 4 balls, north, south, east, and west of the earth. And so there's 1 wing for each one of the 4 directions.
You talking about the Maccabees?
Well, I'm talking about Alexander the Great.
Yeah, I know.
He came,
Mm-hmm.
man,
Well,
but what happened is it had 4 heads. And what happened is when Alexander the Great died, then his kingdom was divided between 4 of his generals. See, 4 heads. And so that part of the world came under Greek influence. And I'm telling you one thing right now, it's very difficult to get out from under that Greek influence. Verse 9, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was like fiery flame, and its wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. So this is going to happen, brethren, at the end of the fourth kingdom. So this kingdom's beginning with the lion and the eagle's wings. It goes all the way down through, it's Babylon, and then the bear is Persia, and then the leopard is Greece, and then the fourth kingdom is Rome. And it continues to have power. Rome is the inheritor of the Babylonian kingdom, and they pretty much act like Belshazzar. Only they're setting themselves up as a bunch of little deities. I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spoke. I beheld till the beast was slain and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. That's the time of judgment. As concerning the rest of the beast, they had their dominion taken away if their lives were prolonged for a season and time. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man, this would be Yahshua the Messiah, came with the clouds of heaven, came to the Ancient of Days, that's the Heavenly Father Yahweh, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory and the kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed. Daniel says at verse 15, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. In other words, it's four different kings that establish four different kingdoms. Nebuchadnezzar, first kingdom, Babylon. The second kingdom was Darius, the Mede, and then came behind him Cyrus, the Persian. Then the third kingdom, Alexander the Great. And the fourth kingdom is the Caesars. The Caesars. Verse 19, then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, because it continues on, brethren. The Roman kingdom has continued for 2,000 years. It was exceeding dreadful, verse 19, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spoke great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. So, anyway, here, just analyzing a little bit, these, from their inception, these kingdoms span across time until the kingdom of heaven appears to rule the earth forever and ever. The lion is king of beasts, while the eagle is king of birds. Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar, you, O king, are a king of kings, for the Elohim of heaven has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. Therefore, these same kingdoms that were enumerated, these are the same kingdoms that were enumerated in Daniel chapter 2. In other words, it was Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, the 4 kingdoms in Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 7. A lot of people get confused about that, but there should be no confusion if you let the scriptures and history teach you of these things. All right, Daniel chapter 8. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at first. And I saw a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. And I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. Now, brethren, this is, if you keep reading, which we will, you'll find out that this ram was a symbol for who? For the Persian, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Medes and the Persians. And you know the 3 ribs in the mouth of the bear? And I said it was west, north, and south. And that's exactly, he's pushing westward,
North and south.
and he has to push westward because it says that he raises up on one side. He raises up on the east. So he's already got power in the east. Then he pushes westward, northward, southward. He's given all flesh. Okay, I saw the ram pushing, verse 4 again, westward, northward, and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great. And as I was considering, behold, a he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran into him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Brethren, this is the goat with the notable horn. That's Alexander the Great.
Yeah.
And there is no way the Persian kings had 1,000,000-man army. Alexander only had 30,000 men, and he destroyed that whole empire. Destroyed it all and its power. All came over to him. And I mean, if Yahweh hadn't meant for him to have that power, he would not have been able to do that. But, you know, brethren, this is prophecy being fulfilled. Okay. Verse 6. He came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen, standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close to the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and broke his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him to the ground and stamped upon him. There was none that could deliver the ram out of his hands. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great. When he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. Well, here you go. Four winds of heaven, north, south, east, west. Four wings of the leopard. Four heads. Four heads. And for this horn, it came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. So that's the four heads, the four generals of Alexander, and the and all was given to Alexander the Great. And then his generals, once he died, his four top generals divided the kingdom. You had the east and the west, north and the south. The north and the south was the Seleucids, and the south was the Ptolemies. And they were fighting each other over having power over one another. And Jerusalem lay just right in between them. And so they did a lot of fighting there, a lot of invading, and a lot of taking over, and actually wearing the people out there. And out of one of them came forth a little horn which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. So there you go. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the host of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of hosts. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away. Well, brethren, now this happened under the Maccabees, and they fought back in order to retain the temple and its purity, and they were trying to keep themselves, but of course the Pharisees came in, pretty much took over everything with all of their lies.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Now, this was begun under the kingdom of brass, Alexander's kingdom of brass. But it was completed when Constantine moved the Roman Empire, the power of the Roman Empire, to the east, to Romanova, the second Rome, and made it infused the iron and the brass together, brethren. 13. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spoke, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? And he said, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And it came to pass, when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man, and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, fell upon my face, but he said to me, Understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Now as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright, and he said, Behold, I will make you to know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed the end shall be. So this is basically for end times, brethren. The ram which you saw, having two horns, are the kings of Media and Persia, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia. and the great horn that is between his eyes, the first king. Now that being broken, the great horn, Alexander, being broken, whereas four stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall come out of the nation, but not in his power. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. And he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper in practice, and shall destroy the mighty and holy people. And through his policy also he shall cause craft. That's basically witchcraft. The craft of Freemasonry, by the way. To prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. The vision of the evening and morning, which was told, is true. Wherefore shut up the vision, for it shall be for many days. We're living in those days now, brethren. We're living in those days. Now, as I've reiterated to you before, Daniel chapter 2, you got Babylon, the gold, the silver of the breast, and the arms is the Medo-Persian. Then you got the belly and the thighs, which is the brass or Nakash. And then you got the kingdom of iron. But the kingdom of iron is divided into three sections. You got all iron, that's the of the legs, that's the Latin kingdom. Then you got the iron with the potter's clay of the feet, and that is Romanova under Constantine. Constantine moved Rome, the Iron Kingdom, over to the brass kingdom, and so he made a he got them melded together. But you know what happens? That was the kingdom of the feet of iron, but also with the potter's clay. Now, potter's clay can harden, and it may stick to the iron a little bit. But the main thing is when you get to the toes in the miry clay, the history of Rome is Constantine moved the kingdom to the east, and that became Romanova, or the second Rome. And then you had the third Rome, which when Constantinople fell, it was almost 1,000 years later, brethren. Constantinople was overcome by the Ottoman Turks. And then the third Rome, Rome was moved to Moscow, Russia. And Moscow, Russia became known as the third Rome. The third Rome, brethren. So, here's an article that I have. This is March 22nd, 2022. And it highlights, it says, Third Rome arises in Russia to defeat anti-pope and hold back Antichrist. Well, brethren, the eastern half of the empire is where the Tsar ruled. The word Tsar means enemy, trial, foe, affliction, tribulation. So that's where the tribulation is going to come from. And it's going to come from Russia. Now, if you need to get into the news annals and watch what's going on, because Russia is in the process of crushing Ukrainians. But the problem with Ukrainians is they've been backed by America and Western Europe, England, America, Western Europe. All those nations they've been sending their well, not just delegates, but they've been sending war materials to the Ukrainians. And the Russians, if you didn't know it, the Russians are blasting, they're blowing up. Well, they're killing the Ukrainians until they're
7-1.
Yeah, if they don't sue for peace pretty soon, there won't be a Ukraine anymore or any Ukrainians left. The ones that'll be left are the ones that scattered to the four winds.
Took that one big town.
But what it's going to do is it's going to, we've been trying to, American leadership, they've been trying to overthrow the Russian, not only the Russian government, but they've been trying to make the Russians, by putting all kinds of restrictions against them and everything. They've been trying to make the Russian economy fail. Well, the thing is, the Russian economy is growing, and it's growing strong. And our economy and the Western Europe economy, we're the ones that our economy is just going down, going under. You need to get onto some of these news channels. Here's another one right here that I pulled up. Putin prepares for holy war, brethren, holy war against going mad west, causing real spiritual catastrophe. We're in spiritual danger, brethren, and we're in physical danger. We're in financial danger. Our economy, we've been trying to crush Russia. But when Yahweh wants something to happen, you can't stop it.
They're already going after Catholics, they're going after Christians.
Yeah.
A 14-year-old, a 16-year-old boy was handing out Bibles in Canada and got arrested.
Yeah. Because their war is not only against us, the American